In this second part of the video presentation, we're going to work with 3 plants. Those in the middle are easier to work with. They're peperomia, which they started out as small cuttings in 6-inch pots, but they've grown so well that I think it's time that we combine them into one large, nice display. The philodendron on my left has outgrown its pot, and for it to resume its position inside, I'll have to repot it. And this lovely combination basket, it was lovely when it started, but it has grown really much too tall for its container. And so as not to lose the valuable plants that are in there, I'm going to show you what I would do in order to refresh this basket. So let's get to it. In making the most of these 2 lovely peperomias, what I've done is taken off some of the segments that were rather longer than the others. And what I'm going to do now is just combine them in this pot. And if there's any more branches that are out of place or hanging out too much, I'll cut those off also. And guess what? I'll have enough cuttings for a nice second plant. So let's go. Repotting is as simple as squeezing, pulling. Oh, there wasn't much root ball in here. I'm surprised. I'm impressed that it got so big. So I'll position this. I've already filled the container. 2/3 filled with our usual potting mix of equal parts compost, soil, and perlite. When you're repotting, try to put the new plant at about the same level it was growing in before. Don't bury it too deeply. And here we are, placed at the right position in the pot. You can juggle it now to make sure that they're not crowded. And then you top up. I think that looks fairly balanced from my point of view. And almost immediately you have a mature looking plant that will make a much better statement than the original 2 smaller plants. So let me just top up, after which I will apply foliar fertilizer to get it started. And I don't expect any shock. Peperomias really don't shock that easily. Plus it's a good root structure. So there you have it. As easy as that. Let's water it with foliar feed, a mild half strength, which is, so we're feeding it right at the outset with a mild solution of foliar NPK with micronutrients, half tablespoon per gallon of water at this point in time. We're going to let it rest in the nursery for about probably a 2-3 week period. Thereafter, it will be good to go back into its position indoors. And this is one that can indeed be removed. And what I could also do, rather than putting them all in a new pot, stick a few at the corner and they will root. Fill it out. All right, good to go. So here's a philodendron that has been doing wonderfully inside, but done so well that it has overgrown its pot. So it's time to cut it back and give it a new home. And as usual, since I'm cutting straight through this stem, I have sterilized my cutter, and I'm taking it at a point that, right. Now, these long roots have done their time, and philodendron will send out fresh roots on the stem there. So I'm going to cut off all of these long ones that will not hold into the pot. Good. Good to go. And also some of the lower leaves that have done their time, they're old. Okay. Remove any extra trash, examine, make sure there are no scales or anything that needs to be treated, and get ready to insert it. I've filled this pot almost to the top with our usual potting mix, which I've dampened, making a hole in it. This plant is going to be top heavy, so we have to insert it fairly deeply into the pot, straighten it up. Do not cover the growing point, which is here. So we're trying to get all of the roots into the medium. Firm it because, as I said, top heavy and could topple over at the first watering. And there we have it, just topping it up. And we'll follow this with our mild fertilizer treatment as we do with all the plants that we transplant. That's half strength NPK with micronutrients. Hey, she looks good already, and I will tell you it will not fade, so I think we can take this. I leave it in the nursery for about 2 weeks and then straight back inside. She's ready to go as it is. But let me just point out, this is your source of 2 more plants. So without doing anything else to this stub, I'm going to put it down and we will keep an eye on it and give you a follow-up once it starts springing. So that's the source of your next plant. Okay, so this combination pot has done its time. We're going to repurpose it. It was a combination of 3 plants: Aglaonema Maria, ZZ plant, Peperomia. I think at this point, let's see what we can make of it. I think the first thing to do is to remove the leggy Aglaonema. And I cut that as low as possible. It's not a destruction, it is how we multiply and get more plants. Now, with Aglaonema, they root very easily from the stem, and a cutting like this, I will get 2 cuttings from it. A stem like this, I'll get 2 cuttings. This I stick in the ground as well as this. So I'll put that to one side. I'll put this aside and continue working on the rest of the plant. And I don't know if you can see, but it looks like it's time to see what's going on in the roots. The only way to see what's going on in the root is taking it out of the pot. And depending on how root bound it is, I may need some help. What? I always get surprised. This is about the worst example of root bound I have seen in one of my plants. Okay, so if this were to happen to you, I'd say it is definitely time to start over. And what I'm going to recommend is separating the respective plants. I want to save the ZZ, and it's easy enough. The peperomias propagate very easily. So that's what I'm going to do. Separate the root ball into its 3 components. So I remove the peperomia, and now it's time to get rid of the remaining roots of the Aglaonema, which will leave me just as easy that I'm going to plant in this pot. So at this point, it was easier just to take a slice through the root ball and separate the Aglaonema. And I'm just going to pare down the root ball of the ZZ and put it in this pot. So the ZZ plant has quite a big root ball. It has very large roots. And given this healthy looking root, I have decided to use a bigger pot. So here it goes. Enough space for it to expand for the foreseeable future. So that's what we're talking about. When your plant has gotten to the end of its attractive stage, rather than going out and buying another new expensive plant, you resuscitate it, you renew it. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, and you take quite a lot of pride in the fact that you just did this, and you're therefore highly likely to look after it. This is the result of the last plant we refreshed. In addition to getting a new home for Zizi, we now have 3 smaller plants that can fit a location in your home that probably needs it. So there you have it. You see, you can make new plants from what would otherwise be tired looking house plants that some people throw away, but from now on, do not throw them away. You get lots of lovely smaller plants, and if you don't need them, I'm sure you have a lot of friends who can gladly accept these as gifts. I know mine do. There are lots of other house plants here that we intend to feature from time to time. We haven't even touched on some of the problems that you can have, but we would be guided by your need. So leave us a comment. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, tell your friends about it, and please subscribe.